All right, so we're just about there. This would be my final biface size, or my final preform, before I start finishing it, edging it, and putting a notch on it. Same principles we were doing with the big removals. We're just putting the tool on the low edges, pressing in and pulling down. Put a lot of pressure inward and pull down. And it drives those flakes, and we're still removing flakes. You don't ever want to start working at a real steep angle, because then you're just making real short flakes that don't drive across. They're not thinning. All you're doing is thickening up your edge, and you're going to start having problems. You can see the detail on that or not. But we flattened that rock out pretty good. Just kind of rubbing my fingers around it, feeling for any thick spots. I'll feel an area where there might be some thickness. I'll grind on that one little edge. Put the tool right there on it and press in, and I pull that thickness off. Get it real flat. So now we're pretty much ready to figure out something to do with the base down here and try to notch it, and that's usually where I blow them apart. Notching's pretty tough for me. Don't know why, but when they fail, that's where they usually fail. So we've kept some pink on the top, and we've kept some pink on the bottom. I'm just going to kind of strengthen the edges up. I'm just barely brushing the edges with that tool. Feel around for any more thicknesses. Got one little area in there, but it's not too bad. I think I'm gonna do more harm than good trying to get it off. So we're gonna live and let live. All right, so try to work on the tip just a little bit. Where are my other tools on it? This is a real complicated tool. It's a finishing nail on a little piece of dogwood limb that I cut down. Indians would put little bits of bone or antler in tools like this and make them almost exactly like this. They found a guy frozen in ice in Europe, and when a glacier melted, his name was Utsi, and he had a pressure flaker almost identical to this. It had a piece of deer antler shoved down in the tip of it, just like a little pencil kind of looking thing. I generally like to use copper. I can do the abo with the rock and antler. I've got those tools. I just prefer using copper, and then in the very finishing stages I'll use soft nails. But just a regular deer tine, you can come in there and do the same thing, push on the edge and pull down, and that's what the Indians did. Or instead of using a copper bopper like I use, they would use a section of deer horn, and this will do the same thing. It's not as durable, constantly having to refinish the tools, and mess with it. So it's a little bit thicker than I'd want it to be. Try to drive deep notches into it. Those notches are going to fail because of the thickness in the middle of this, but we'll see what we can't do. I think maybe I'll drive some notches up from the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take kind of a long tip tool, put it right in the corner, just start pressing down, kind of flip that piece over as I go. Where my tool is, I like. Just starting that notch. See me flipping that piece over a lot as the path of my center line changes. I've got to change. There it is. That's the one I'm looking for right there. You can reach up in there with that. Ran into a little thick spot. I need to get a tool with a little thicker tip. You can't push with those little finishing nails. I dropped it and I broke the very end of my barb off, so I'll par for the course. Starting to look more like an arrowhead. Getting that base thin down. It's got to be thin enough to slide in between the little notch when on an arrow. That's what happens, put too much pressure. That's not too bad. It's not great. What I like to do in the finishing stage is to take a little paddle bopper, run it straight down the edges. You can do the same thing with a rock. It'll grab all those little flakes and it'll help get that edge real straight. Then take my bent tool and fix it. Get it real sharp. Run down the edge and sharpen it. We just take this little tiny tip on this tool and go right down the edge, just barely putting it on there, and just taking itty bitty tiny flakes. Just microscopic flakes. I don't even think you can see them. There it is right there. It's just a little bitty microscopic. And that's what exposes that sharp edge. Makes it like little tiny serrations on a shark tooth or a saw blade or something. The rock can get really sharp. See those little serrations on there. And this is sharp enough to hunt with now. I mean, put that on a hat level dart. Probably light enough it could go on an arrow. But it'd blow straight through a deer or whatever it hit. And that's how it's done.